and welcome to the channel's book club. Do you remember Eniola Oladipo? She's the brilliant 15-year-old girl who won the first Channel's Book Club Prize for Literature and traveled with our team on an eventful trip to the 2013 Frankfurt Book Fair in Germany. Eniola is the current senior prefect of Vivian Fowler Memorial College for Girls. We were keen on knowing what she has been up to and get her views on the reading culture of Nigerian teenagers of her age. Please join us after this break. How about that Frankfurt Book Fair experience? And even let's go back a bit, the whole competition, applying, writing, being shortlisted, and then finally going for the book fair.
Well, I really have to say that it has broadened my horizon. The trip to Germany to attend the Frankfurt Book Fair was a wonderful experience. And not only that event, but also getting to visit other landmarks in Frankfurt really taught me a lot about the world in general and also beyond my immediate surroundings. Memories, well, I think visiting the Gutenberg University was a real memory for me.
Very interesting.
Listening to the lady at the Institute of African Studies speaking Yoruba, it was very entertaining. So,
what came out of that experience for you? What have you been up to in the last 1 year or so?
well, meeting different authors at the book fair really impacted me and encouraged me to keep writing, at the same time trying to balance with my studies. So I actually I got a website to publish an article of mine, What Makes a True African. That was a couple of months ago. Since then, I've been still trying to keep up with the writing. At the same time, I've been preparing for external examinations, so I've been quite occupied lately.
You're in your final year now in secondary school, right?
Yes, I am.
So you're probably trying to do your YEC, SSC, UME exams. And how's that going?
Well, it's strenuous, but thankfully it really pushes you to do your best when you know that you have to meet certain expectations. So I'm really just trying my best right now.
And then one day I bumped into your principal and she said, you are now the senior prefect of Vivian Fowler. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Now, you are 16, right, if I remember well?
Yes.
Okay, now, what's going on with teenagers of your generation? You know, a lot of people say they are not reading as much as they should be reading. They are too preoccupied with entertainment, with modern technology, games, and so on. What's your take on that? How would you assess Nigerian teenagers of your generation?
Well, I would say that there has been a dramatic shift in terms of the reading culture amongst teenagers. But I feel it's not as big of a deal as a lot of people say it is. After all, yes, we live in a technological age, and I feel that people have to move with the times. They have to move with the era they're in, and I feel teenagers are actually trying to do that. Yes, it's true that a lot of teenagers don't spend as much time reading and intellectually developing themselves as they should. But at the same time, we have ebooks nowadays where teenagers can still be looking at their phones, but at the same time, they're still reading. So it depends. It's really a question of whether we should generalize and say, oh, all teenagers aren't reading. And I think that it shouldn't just be about reading. It should be about what they're actually reading at the end of the day and how they're impacting themselves, because it's possible for fine teenagers to watch TV but still be developing themselves more than if they're just reading something they shouldn't be reading.
So if I hear you well, it's not as disastrous as people make it sound. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's that disastrous, but I feel that there still needs to be a lot of improvement.
Okay. And you're also saying when we see teenagers using their iPads and their computers and laptops and so on. It's not all the time they are watching movies or listening to music. They might be reading. Is that what you're saying?
It may be a lot of the time, but from my own perspective, from what I've observed, maybe not all the time.
Maybe not all the time.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what do you think we should be doing as a country, parents, teachers, as a society generally, to ensure that young people, are learning and are developing reading culture? What should we be doing?
I feel that the reading culture should be inculcated at a young age, and it shouldn't just be forced, because if it's forced, then teenagers may not feel so compelled, or they won't like reading. They'll see it as something that's compulsory that they have to do. So I feel like, apart from encouraging teenagers to read, we should also give them the platform, because after all, there are a lot of youth, a lot of teenagers today that still don't have access to a decent education, that still don't have access to books. So I feel it's a huge task, but everyone has to key in, as you said, from teachers to parents to even we teenagers ourselves. After all, you can't blame someone else for something that's happened to you. You have to take responsibility for your own future and for the future of your country. So it's really something that begins with the mind, not necessarily just compelling teenagers to read. So I feel like if they come to terms with the importance and how it can benefit them intellectually, they'll be more likely to read if they know what it can do for them.
When you look at your age mates generally in Nigeria, is there a sense of optimism about the country? Is there a sense of patriotism?
Well, I'd say that it really depends. Like me talking to my friends now, I would have an opinion, but then in other states where certain events are taking place that are probably causing more worries, such as in the north where terrorism is quite rampant, teenagers there may probably have another view.
Yeah.
But I feel that, yes, there is a sense of patriotism. It's just not so brought out. It's more of a curiosity and a sense of caring, a sense of wanting Nigeria to get better at the same time, but also kind of not feeling happy with certain things. So it may not seem that a lot of youth nowadays seem so patriotic about their nation, but I feel like it's masked, that inside they are concerned about their country, but they can't help feel happy, like, about the way things are going now. That's why they may not seem so interested, or some of them may have seemed to have given up.
What do teenagers read? For those that read, what are we likely to catch them reading?
Well, I think generally there has been a giant shift to fiction in particular, and also sci-fi. Sci-fi has
science fiction.
Yes, science fiction has become something very popular among teenagers, and as a result, you see them more or less transitioning to foreign authors, because they're willing to offer what most teenagers are interested in. Not all, but a lot of foreign authors tend to meet their points of interest more than African writers. Maybe because we don't have as many, or we don't have as many young people that should be writing. But I feel that it's more or less shifted towards the fiction, and especially foreign. Yes.
What's going on in the schools? Using your school as an example, in terms of how teenagers are being encouraged to develop a reading culture. Is it just a setting up of libraries and so on? Or are there creative things being done, happening in schools, in terms of helping young people to develop a reading culture?
Well, I think in my school there has been a lot done. We've had a well-stocked library ever since the beginning, but apart from that, we have different clubs coming up that aren't just about other kinds of art, such as drama and music, but also literary arts. We have we have an established literary and debating society. We also have a press club. So when we encourage students to join these clubs, they tend to be encouraged not only to read, but also to write. So it's really about getting some students to care about other students. It can't just be the school, the administrators, and the principals that should take action. Students should also encourage other students to read.
Okay. So I'm going to take you back to the Channels Book Club Prize for Literature, the competition that you won. Did it impact on you in any way?
I think it did. It sort of made me feel a lot more confident in my talents and abilities. Kind of propelled me to at least achieve further and do more and try and develop my talents and my skills, my abilities. Apart from that, it really broadened my perspective because, for example, during the competition, we were required to write an essay, more or less, or a review on an African book. And I, for one, hadn't really read that many African literary texts. But after that, it really brought to my mind the importance of not just reading texts from other parts of the world, but also within my continent and within my country. So it was sort of like a transition in my mind that it's not just about what's happening elsewhere, it's also about what's happening here. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Annie, thank you for joining us again on the Channels Book Club. You know you are the Channels ambassador.
Yes.
Thank you. Nice to have you.
Okay, thank you much, sir.
All right.